Probably I'm not going to do an intro today. We're just going to keep it, simple today. We had a few things going on, some kind of like show updates, and actually I'm going to do this one a little bit later. Okay, we're going to have a guest coming on Wednesday for next week's show. We got Mr. Bit 10 from YouTube. We're going to be talking about one of the biggest topics we're going to talk about is Apple in the pro environment for professionals, and I believe Mr. Bit 10 is a developer. Actually, somebody on my YouTube site actually mentioned that because I wasn't 100% sure. I knew he did developing, but I don't know if that was his primary job. I'm also going to try for there's kind of like a food challenge for this local restaurant I go to, and I might be covering it for a future from one of my future web shows. It's kind of like man versus food challenge, and I just found out today that supposedly they're setting it up where they could have as many as 5 challengers at one time. So I'm thinking of covering that. I think it's going to be pretty exciting because I like the man versus food challenges. I figured that'd be kind of fun to cover. And also we're going to show the Techwebcast intro because I tried to play it last time on my internet. It was buffering like crazy. So earlier today I went ahead and downloaded it, and we're going to show that. The video version, I guess that's what you call it. And let me go ahead and show that right now.
Welcome to Techwebcast, Australia's leading technology show. Download our iPhone app, www.techwebcast.info.
Okay, I also wanted to ask, I guess that's the, do you have like a video version, or I think you said you mainly do the audio podcast, right, Brad?
There's video version now. Jason does the video version and stuff, and he adds the what we talk about into the video each week, like the stories and stuff, and the guest and that sort of thing. We're actually in progress trying to get Wirecast onto our computer so we can use that and make it a little bit more better.
Yeah, you can actually like record it to disk, and that's another good way of doing it. And I also wanted to ask you, and Carlo kind of beat me to it in the chat room, but do you use iMovie for that?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he does.
And I actually like iMovie because it's a very good one to use. It just works for me for right now, and even though I do plan on getting the Final Cut Pro X coming out, I think next month, I probably am still going to use iMovie because it does. It probably is going to do a few things that the Final Cut Pro X doesn't do. Well, I'm using the iMovie 11 from iLife, I guess, and it's got the iTrailers. It's got a few functions in there that I still like.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, iMovie's good to use.
And I've tried using I'm trying to think what it is, the Adobe Premiere Elements, and I had a little trouble. It was probably user error on the transcoding, and it made it very pixelated. It did make a pretty good outro, which I use for my outro, but and it's slow for some reason, and a few other issues. So I'm looking forward to getting, for stuff that's more advanced than iMovie, then I could try Final Cut Pro X or whatever. But if I'm lacking on time and need to get done right away, then I'm just going to throw it in iMovie.
Yeah, iMovie's good. I just wish there was iMovie on Windows 7, but there's not, so I have to use Windows Movie Maker instead.
Okay, well, now I don't know if you got your other people that help you out if they use Mac, and then
Yeah, Jason's got a Mac. He uses iMovie and stuff for that sort of thing. And we just also made a dedicated channel to reviews and stuff and that sort of thing, and That's where we put into live videos and that sort of good stuff. So, yeah.
Now, I didn't want to leave Arron, I guess, out of the conversations. He's also Skyped in with us. Now, I guess maybe the other person we had planned is not in with us. So can you tell us a little bit about the OzTech news? Because, you know, this is totally new to me because I guess Brad had you come in at the last minute. So can you explain a little bit what you do there, Arron?
Yeah, sure. So OzTech News, what I'm trying to do is not just do another news site. I want to do a site that's about the tech news. So it's more about providing social commentary about what's going on, tech trends and that sort of stuff. So yeah, the whole attitude that I'm taking is that people's reactions to the news is just as newsworthy as the news itself. And so the content that I'm writing on the site is more like conversational pieces. So the idea is to start a conversation and people jump in the comments, or it'll spill over into Twitter and a conversation will start after that.
Now, actually, that's one of my favorite because it's not just for a lot of these tech blog sites. I like more of the ones that have where it's got the news article and then it has a comment section below, because often there's other people that are knowledgeable in the same thing and they put their own thoughts in it, which I actually learn from. So for me, that actually works out better too. So.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the thing is that you're never going to be an Engadget or a TechCrunch or anything like that. You know, these guys are going to find out things first, so you're never going to be a primary source of news. But what you can do is, contribute what you know, your core competencies, demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, and get involved in the outer discussion. And that will never happen just on an Engadget or a TechCrunch. So there's a wider community out there of people who know about this sort of stuff, like to talk about it, and I'm just another one of those guys as well.
Well, in a way, I mean, I'm guessing you're primarily a tech blog, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And in a way, I'm kind of doing much of the same thing, even though I do different things, except I do mine's more interactive because, you know, often I take news like off these news blog sites such as your own and, not only report it, I put my own thoughts into it, and then of course I want to see what the chat room thinks because they may know things that I don't, so it's kind of more of an interactive,
Absolutely, yeah, and you find that people appreciate it more, so it's good that way. It is not journalism. I always correct people when they call me a tech journalist or anything like that. Absolutely not. This is the antithesis of journalism because journalists are objective. They tell the news. I'm not interested in that at all. I'm very, very opinionated and very, very biased.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Well, I'm kind of wondering as well, because you don't consider you're a journalist because you primarily, I'm guessing, because you have to report, get your news from other sources, not from the primary source. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that like I want to try and do something that's a little bit bigger than me. I mean. I'm more than happy. Like my content, for example, is heavily linked to other websites. Yeah. I'm more than happy for people to use my site as a gateway to go out to other sites and get the news, be informed. I'm not trying to just repeat that. That's boring. So I'm happy to just sort of say, hey, this happened today, and I think it's crap, or something like that.
Okay. You're the devil advocate. I like that.
Exactly. I like that too. Yeah, that I might change my Twitter handle to that, devil's advocate.
But you know what? Now, some people are really, adamant or very emotional, especially, you see it when they do a video like on YouTube, and sometimes I kind of shy away from that, but there's sometimes they bring up some very good points that even though they may go over the top, I still, like watching it because they got good opinions, yeah. But not for the sometimes they kind of shout a little bit and all that, but the real into it heavy devil advocates, I say anyway, but.
I think that the reality is that there's two types of modern media. There's news, being informed, and then what people also want is they want people's opinions. They want to get some expert opinions. I mean, people are tuning into your show, you're a Linux cool dude, so they're hoping to get some Linux knowledge, you know, and you probably use your opinion and say things are stupid or things are really, really good. And they want that. They know it's biased, but they want that because they want some expert opinions to see what other people think and help develop their own opinions as well, you know. So that's the idea. I mean, I could start a forum or something like that and it'd just be a free-for-all where everyone talks about whatever. But instead with OzTech News, what I want to try and do is start a conversation myself with an article piece and let it flow from there. So sort of guide people on certain paths to sort of say, well, this is the topic at the moment. Here's what I think. Jump in, you know. And it works well. It works really, really well. You find a lot of people respond to it positively on Twitter. And that's probably where the conversation is happening more often than the site itself, which is perfectly fine. And I really enjoy it. You know, it's great.
Oh, yeah. And occasionally I do use, people put like links in Twitter, and sometimes I do get my news off of Twitter as well. So Twitter is another good way of doing it, you know. As far as even using conversation for your website, I know you mentioned that too. So, and let me. Okay, I haven't seen your website. I'm going to bring it up now. I guess it's oztechnews.com, so I can have some idea.
So what you'll sort of find is that, I mean, it's easy to just pick up a topic and just start rambling about whatever. What I try to focus on is that you sort of see that the tech blogs, they're all looking to push out as much content as possible. So each tidbit of news, they'll pick it up, write an article about it, and make it something that they can surround with ads. So what you'll sort of find here is that I try to sort of crowdsource a few different pieces together and try to read between the lines in what's actually happening. So like, say, for example, you know, everyone's talking about Microsoft and Skype this week. You know, so all the tech blogs were saying the end of last week, you know, Facebook and Google are all into it. Then it was earlier this week, it was Microsoft are probably going to, do a deal with them. Then by midweek, it was Microsoft have done the deal with Skype. It's all just stepping stones in the tech blogs. So whereas what I'm sort of saying is things like I'm writing articles saying, it's pretty obvious that Google were looking to use Skype as a basis of their social strategy. It's pretty obvious that all this news from the end of last week about Google and Facebook being interested in Skype was actually old news because Microsoft had a no-shop clause with Skype from earlier this year. So it's trying to sort of look deeper than the news itself and really get to the bottom of things and tell it like it is, you know, and then let people go on from there.
Yeah, actually, I picked up on that. I thought it was fairly early, but then because usually I got to plan my tech stuff on Wednesday, I was like, hopefully it doesn't die down and everybody already knows it before I, report it. And I kind of did the same thing on that because I was kind of wondering how the Mac and Linux, how the, Microsoft would, the clients for Mac and Linux would go, because I'm afraid they're going to shut it down or, so that was kind of playing the devil advocate on my part, reporting that bit of news, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're getting into it with Skype, yeah, I would be inclined to think that, I mean, for all the things that Microsoft are saying about why they wanted Skype, more than anything else, I think they just bought Skype so that someone else couldn't. Let's just put it out there. I mean,
use it.
That's the. Or
Sorry. So they couldn't use the technology for themselves or buy it out or.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're facing an epic battle between Google and Facebook right now. It's all about social. It's the one thing that Google can't dominate. If Facebook successfully created a partnership with Skype, they'd be unstoppable. There's just no way there'd ever be a social network bigger than them ever again. Because that's the one thing that's missing about Facebook. You can type to your friends, but to be able to see when they're online and just actually speak to them with video and audio and all that, then there'd be no stopping them, especially if they deeply integrated their service into mobile handsets and that sort of stuff. So I tend to think that all of this stuff from earlier this year where Google were interfering with Facebook's talks with them, it was just all about buying the service to force them to not do a deal with to do a deal with Facebook, actually. and then Microsoft had gotten involved because Google were involved. I believe Microsoft when they say that there's all these things that they know they can do with Skype to integrate into their services and all that. Definitely, they're not lying. They're just not telling the whole story. It's obvious that it was a sort of buy the service so that someone else can't and influence what they do with it. So it's pretty cool now. I think Skype went to the right possible acquirer.
Okay,
Microsoft.
So you think that's a good thing going to Microsoft? I guess that's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I dare to say it. When you look at the possible owners, for starters, Facebook are a bit of an immature tech company still. If they owned Skype, they would only really be interested in pushing things through Facebook. At the very least now, Facebook will have integration with Skype as well as Windows Live, as well as Microsoft Link, as well as Windows Live Messenger and all that sort of stuff. It'll be deeply seeded into a lot of technologies. Yeah, Microsoft will make it more broader. And as for Google, well, same thing again. Google are a social utility already, so they would really only push Skype through all of their services. So at least it's sort of Microsoft, they're the most partial to letting other people use their stuff, if you can dare say that, So it'll be found in a lot of different areas. I'm quite excited for Skype to be built into the Xbox and to be integrated with Kinect. It makes the stuff actually usable. Video Connect is worthless right now. It's cool. Everyone sort of bought a Kinect, tried it once, and they never used it again. So with Skype, especially if you can talk to your Facebook friends through Skype through Video Connect, then that's useful. So it went to the right possible company, and I think there's a lot of talk about whether they'll continue on Mac and Linux and all that sort of stuff. Linux is probably shaky, mainly because if you got to keep things open on Linux, and it may sort of be that Skype will go the way of Silverlight. How there's a there's the Linux version of Silverlight. What's it called? Mono something.
Oh, Moonlight, I think, for Linux. I think that's what's...
Moonlight, yeah. So it may sort of be like that Microsoft will encourage an open version of Skype just for Linux, as opposed to building their own. But as for other platforms, they'll keep it going. It's in their best interest to do so. So it'll be good.
How about you, Brad? How do you like the Skype for Microsoft getting Skype?
Tell you the truth, it doesn't really worry me, mate. As long as I can keep using Skype on the computer, I'm happy. I've changed
my stance a little bit on Microsoft, considering what happened in the past. I think I'm more trusting of Microsoft now. So I could see this potentially as being a good thing, considering I think it would be. Skype before had some financial problems, and now I think with Microsoft behind them, I think it will even improve. And Microsoft even said they will continue. Supposedly, we'll see in future, but supposedly they're going to continue making the Mac and Linux versions. I heard that officially through the news sites that Steve Ballmer said they were going to do this. As far as I know.
Well, I hope they do. You won't have a program of use, Steve, on your Mac computers, mate.
Oh, what was that, Brad?
Well, I hope they do. You won't have Skype on the Apple computers, mate. You have to find something else, did they?
Yeah, I thought of that as well. What if the version even got worse? With the new versions that came out, or they dropped support, or I haven't thought of that. But it's still early to tell. I guess they just bought it, so I'm using version 2.8, so I'm happy with that until they. Of course, everybody hates version 5 on Mac. And now after using it a while, I hate it too. So I went to version 2.8, but.
I think what you'll probably find that Microsoft will do with Skype is the same thing they do with Office and that sort of stuff, where it's one thing to have software that's exclusive to Windows and to Windows Phone and that sort of stuff, but it's another thing entirely to have versions of the software available for other operating systems. It's just that the Microsoft ones are better. So everyone universally agrees that Microsoft Office is better on Windows than it is on Mac. Sure, it's there on Mac and it's pretty good, but the Windows version is better. So you might sort of just find that. But you know, that's what everyone's doing. I mean, you look at Google Maps and all that sort of stuff. It's better when you use it through Chrome, or it's better than when you use it on Android, and they get the latest versions of it first. Yeah, and then eventually it spills down to the other platforms, and they'll just do the same sort of thing. And that is actually a better competitive strategy to making people partial towards Microsoft technologies than by making it exclusive.
Now you mentioned that the Microsoft Office is better on Windows than Mac. I think it's not per se they're doing it on purpose, because I see a lot of software that's originally built for one operating system, and then when it gets cross-converted to another, then that's where there's problems. I don't think it's necessarily Microsoft, it's other companies. And I think it's due to there's not enough cross developers who can do programming on Windows and Mac, and then the conversion process there's stuff lost. So that's what I think. But
yeah, look, I definitely think that all those points are valid. Definitely. You got to allow for a bit of surely these guys are sitting around a boardroom one day and sort of going, how can we make Office 90% as good as the Windows version on the Mac, so leave it a little bit crippled. I mean, for example, Outlook is only just hitting Mac right now, that's been terrible that people have been forced to use Entourage for so long on the Mac platform, and these are sorts of things that they've been doing for a long time. It's all right. It's not evil. That's not evil. That's just competitive,
yeah.
And so anyway, bringing it back to Skype, that's what I sort of expect, So say, for example, they finally do deep integration with Facebook. The Windows version will have that for a good 3 to 6 months, and then finally the other versions will get it. So you start creating this attitude of, gosh, I love Skype, and gosh, I love my iPhone, but if I had a Windows phone, I'd have all the newer stuff sooner,
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it, and it'll work. So it'll be cool.
Tell me now, does Xbox Connect, does it have some kind of video calling? You mentioned that before. I don't have a Connect. Yeah. I do have an Xbox, so I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, Video Connect just works through Live ID, so it's really an extension of Live Messenger. And as you probably know, I mean, next to no one uses Windows Live Messenger anymore. It was like the first great social utility, and now everyone chats on Facebook instead. So, and no one really uses it anymore. No one really looks at their contact list or maintains it. So it's like if you could use the exact same software, wipe out your Windows Live contacts, and put in your Facebook contacts instead, then it would be awesome, because people keep their Facebook contacts up to date, and they're actively socializing with those contacts, So to be able to sit down in front of your television and sign into Skype on your Xbox and see all of your Facebook contacts online. So all of your friends are online that night. It's just Russian roulette. Pick one, chat to them. You actually use it. It'd be cool, Whereas right now, the exact same technology is there, but next to no one uses it because next to no one's online, So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be cool.
And now I've got this unique topic, and I admit I haven't been keeping up with it, but now I'm seeing the total big picture on this, the way this is going to work, I think. And I'm talking about the it's the Google, the Google Chrome web app, laptop. I think it's the Chrome CR48.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot of news recently that, of course, they had the beta program for a long time to test it out, but supposedly they're going to have this where if you're a student, it's not, I don't know if it's going to be really sold just for the laptop. It's more of a service where a student can actually rent it or lease it for $20 a month, and then they'll get the laptop, and that would include free updates. Supposedly, free repairs, and even possibly free hardware upgrades. And I thought that was a very unique, idea. Excuse me, I've got this. Sorry about this. Sorry about that. The cat kept on clawing at my leg pants if I didn't let him outside. So he's going to be gone. He's going to be out there for quite a while. Yeah.
Cat.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's getting kind of bad, you know. I guess I got him spoiled. He meows for everything now, so.
Shit. How old is it?
It's getting pretty old. I'm not sure of its age because I just moved back here recently, so it was the family cat, and but it's just like a baby. It wants, I guess, to be hand fed and everything. So it was sitting there clawing at me, trying to get outside. I was trying to shoo it away, and I'm like, so I got to get this cat out so I can get this show on the road. So. Okay.
So you're talking about Chromebooks?
Yeah, I guess it's using the Web OS, which is, I believe, Linux variant.
Chrome OS, yeah.
And now, do you get? Have you guys actually heard about that as far as being like rented or leased?
Yeah, I've been following this topic, and I got to say, I think it's the lamest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, for starters, I can't imagine why Google would want to spend the money supporting hardware and doing free upgrades and that sort of stuff. I mean, the way computing is going is that computers are becoming disposable. You know, you don't want to support something that's disposable. You just want to throw it away and get a new one, you know. So, I mean, if they're going to be setting up these sweatshops where all of these little computers are coming back and having to be upgraded and having hard drives replaced in and that sort of stuff, I mean, it's horrible. You know, I can't imagine how that's a sustainable business model other than that they're going to purposely use it as a loss leader to force people to only use the web. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's more an experiment than a dependable technology right now. And yeah, Carlos said in the chat room, you know, they're way too expensive. I mean, $20 a month. $20 a month for a computer. You know, it's like what you want to do is you want computing to get down to a stage where you buy a device for, $150 tops, use it for a couple of months, and if it breaks, you toss it in the bin and get another one, you know. That is better. That is a lot better. But in terms of the operating system, I just sort of see it as it's obnoxious to think that the future is only about the web. Now, that's coming from a web developer. You know, I've been saying for 10 years that software is dead. But right now, you could have Android with a web browser on it. So why would you only buy half an operating system? Even if the future is the web, and the Android has a really a huge and sprawling Android market. Apps give you the ability to sidestep the internet connections when they dip in and out a little bit sometimes. Give you access to native APIs and that sort of stuff. I mean, it's like Chrome OS is 5 years too early. That's the way I see it. I don't know. What do you think?
Now, I'm kind of looking at the way technology is going, and I've seen some recent things, and I'll give you some examples. There is, for a while now, there's more people buying laptops versus desktops. I don't know if that was in the last year or two. And this year, we're seeing, I think now, we're seeing there's more cell phones being sold than computers in general. Now, I haven't verified all the news feeds or anything. So I think what we're seeing is, these trends. And I kind of see what Google is trying. I don't know. I'm trying to think here.
Chris Brello made a good video about it.
And that one's the one I actually watched, and that's how I got, I didn't realize they were doing this. And I know what he said, and, I'm not saying that he's true or correct, but I
don't really agree with him either. It's not going to take over. I don't reckon it will anyway. I don't know what you reckon, Steve, but
I think it's a little early to tell.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at what's happened until right now. There's a trend that's going toward mobile more. Well, this is what I think. I think if this web-based computers were ever to take off, I think Google would be the ones that would to be able to initiate it. But not saying it's
everyone's buying the iPads and the Samsung Galaxy tabs and these sort of things, and I think they may be the future of computing. You know, no one's buying netbooks anymore, and they're all buying the iPads and stuff. And
yeah, I've seen a trend away from the netbooks too, I think.
I think what you're sort of seeing here is that if history had repeated itself without iOS in the middle of it, then everyone would be agreeing that Chromebooks are the way forward, because everyone's just using the web these days. And even sort of the iPad, what's the most popular app on the iPad? Safari, by far.
Flipboard, actually. Flipboard's the most popular app on the iPad.
You think Flipboard is more popular than Safari?
I reckon.
Everyone's using iPads to sit on the toilet, looking at Facebook, in a web browser. So I mean, there's definitely a partialness towards the web for sure. It's just that wireless connectivity is really crippling computing for the next couple of years still. So we need to be able to have native apps that allow you to sort of, when you're connected, drop some information down and then use only the applications on the device instead of having to depend upon a constant live stream to the internet, because it's not dependable, not in Australia, not in the US, not anywhere except Japan. So it's just a little too ahead of itself. And I just sort of see it as, when you compare Google's operating systems to Microsoft's, what Microsoft are doing is they're really moving towards this whole virtualization of the operating system. So you've got your core NT. So you could really compare NT to Linux these days in terms of having a core kernel that operates a machine, and then they're virtualizing these GUIs on top. So Windows now, the Windows UI is just a disposable layer that sits on top of NT, truly. So it really come full circle with how Windows 95 worked on DOS. And so what you have now is these disposable operating systems, and they have the Midori project. I don't know if you heard of that, Steve, but
no.
The Midori project is Microsoft's Chrome OS. It's just a browser as an operating system. Now, if you can imagine that if Midori ended up being called Internet Explorer 12, then what you sort of get is that it feels like you're just using another app on Windows, but it's actually its own totally sandboxed, in quotations, operating system. So it's happening totally separate of the core operating system where you run native apps and that sort of stuff. And that way you're completely secure. You've got your private information and your locally installed stuff, and you've got your browser, which is a totally different sandboxed operating system connected to the web. Now, Google have said so themselves that Android and Chrome OS will likely merge in the future. So if Chrome OS ended up being the new web browser on top of Android, and they did the same sort of thing where you had an Android device, you could have locally installed apps, and then you had your web browser within that or beside that, but they weren't actually an app inside an operating system, they were just two side-by-side operating systems, then that is the ultimate way to be secure. You couldn't possibly download nasties from the web and pollute your operating system. You could just run them side by side. That's sort of where I see it. You can't. I think that Chrome OS will eventually allow native installed apps, and it won't be through Chrome OS itself. It'll be elements of Android mixed together with Chrome OS to give you the best of both worlds, and you can't stop that.
Well, now also, something that Chris Prill said on his video also is that what target audience this might be geared toward, and I know a lot of people like in the chat room and you and I talking right now, often we're power users, and so we tend to go for more powerful, hardware or devices, but perhaps it was more targeted toward, the average user, because, now they're using a lot of the mobile devices more so than, the power user does. I don't know if, you would take that into account for if we see more web-based laptops like what Google's doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you talk about the standard users, this is why the iPhone became so popular, because Apple successfully bridged the concept of you buy an application and you install it on your computer. So they popularized this whole concept of you look through a store, you see what you like, you go press on that, I want that, and it's installed, and then you press on it to launch it. Now, I mean, I get that Chrome OS is going to have this sort of platform launcher where you've got all your icons and that sort of stuff, and you can launch into web apps and that sort of stuff. But for the most part, that is even going to be too complicated. People will sort of go like, they're going to be dumb. They're going to say like, but it's not downloading to my computer. I don't get it. They just won't understand it. And as soon as people feel fear, they won't use it because they'll be afraid of it. They won't want it. So, I mean, this whole sort of thing where like they're going to hit up the education sector and that sort of stuff first, that's smart because, young people are going to be far more partial to try new things, and they're always on the web all the time. But for the most part, you'll always be buying a device that can only do 50% of what you'd want it to do.
Yeah.
Because, for every time that you want to save something locally, you can't. For every time you want to hit the caps lock key, you can't. It's just some of the simple things that every once in a while you just sort of notice, like, oh, I wanted to plug in my digital camera. I know that it's going to work with some devices, but for some devices, it can't. If you want to show up to school and print, you might not be able to. It's not just that simple. You can't just reach across the network and connect to it locally. It's all going to be cloud printing. It just sounds like a whole bunch of hoops to jump through. I mean, give it 3 years and let's talk about it again, because you can't judge it as a credible technology right now. It's far too experimental.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be some limitations, I know, with those type of devices, simply because you have to access them through the internet. Of course, yeah, then you got to have, it always has to be connected, so I don't know. What if you couldn't, can you still use a laptop locally if you couldn't connect? That's a good question, actually.
Google are making all of their web apps accessible offline, but that's Google. What about everyone else?
And let me go through some of the things that I found out about this Chrome CR48. Supposedly it's going to be all cloud-based, so if something like, let's say something, you smash it or get a replacement, supposedly, once you log in, then you can get all your, your accounts and access to all your information, or your programs that way, because it's cloud-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're also going to implement possibly, now it's not going to be a high-capacity SSD drive, but I think it's mentioned it might have like a 16 gigabyte SSD drive, so at least we know that's going to be kind of fast.
Yeah.
And let me see, I think that's all I got down there.
There's no doubt that the operating system will be fast. No doubt. I heard that too, that they're only building with SSDs. They want it to be like a television. You press a button, it's on, and you start using it. And I get all of that. The only thing that Google can't control, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it, is that they can't make the internet fast. So, people are going to have these high-powered web browsing computers and then sit there all day waiting for their websites to load, because they won't, because they're all sitting on crippled internet connections.
Exactly, and that's what I've said before, because actually at one of these Mac user group meetings, they were mentioning that, everything's transitioning toward downloading or streaming. And I kind of agree with it, but I said, well, what about these internet service providers not updating this, for faster systems, for all this technology to be able for the average user to do this? They have to have fast, reliable connections.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at what we're going through in Australia. We're a desert surrounded by a couple of cities on the fringe of the country. It's impossible to keep this place connected in a high-speed way, because all of our major capital cities are so separated from each other, and there's just nothing in the middle of the country. So it's telecommunications are poor. I mean, even sort of I grew up in Sydney, and I used to be on a telephone exchange that was built in 1970. So ADSL was horrible. Every single person who had ADSL in that area, it It was horrible, and there's nothing that anyone is going to do about that anytime soon. Our government is setting up the National Broadband Network, the NBN. You might have heard about the discussions about that, and that should be complete for the whole country in 2020. So we might consider Chromebooks in 10 years then, because until then they're just going to be frustrating to use for some people and for the majority of people. Until then, these sorts of things, you can't use the web as a primary 100% dependable source of all of your content and your applications and your services. You have to have a hybrid of both, and that's what Apple are doing with their devices, and that's why they're kicking us.
Well, what is your average speed in Australia, there, Brad and Arron?
Have you ever been to the zoo and seen a tortoise walk?
Wow, that's slow.
That's probably the best sort of comparison I could give you in 2011.
Mine's with internet, and mine's are pretty good. I get probably about 1 megabit up, something 120 something up, and down I get about 15. It's pretty good.
I'm still on ADSL 1, so I mean I've got an 8 megabit connection, and I'm lucky to connect at 4.
Well, are you in a major city, Arron, or like a smaller city, or?
Well, I live in the Gold Coast, so I mean the Gold Coast is like the tourist capital of Australia, more or less these days. There's a population of 500,000 people, and there's a turnover of 10 million people a year in this city. But only Telstra have equipment in this area, and all the other internet providers resell Telstra stuff here. So no one's bothered to invest in this area at all. But even Brisbane isn't that much better, which is just an hour north in Queensland. And like ADSL 2, I mean, like Brad said, at best you can get 24 megabit connections, and then depending on your distance from the exchange, you typically get sort of 10 or 12 down. That's it.
Well, I think you guys in Australia in a unique situation because, like I said, or like you said, primarily your Australia is mostly desert in the center, so you guys got to live all around the coast, and so I don't know. Do you only have like one major, like a transatlantic cable that goes to Australia, then it branches out from there, or? I don't know if you know that.
Do you mean in terms of connections to other countries?
Or just the internet in general?
I'm to understand that there's about 3 or 4 major underwater pipes that connect us to the rest of the world. But there's only sort of half a dozen at the most,
Well, it's better than one cable. If it gets, crushed or whatever, then you're pretty much cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah, well, and that's happened. That's definitely happened before. But even worse is that there's not necessarily a lot of infrastructure within the country. So, like a classic example is like 2 years ago, something happened right in the CBD of Sydney, and half of Sydney got wiped out and couldn't use the internet at all because one cable was broken. So it's pretty poor still in the country.
Well, now I used to keep track of this, but I used to, there's a few sites that track, the fastest. Which countries have the fastest internet to the slowest? I know right now I think it's South Korea's got the fastest right now, and I'm not sure where your numbers listed on the charts. It's not.
That's actually a good question. And I don't know. But I remember reading that like Australia was nowhere near the top 10. That's for sure. We're not in a very good place right now. I think it's like in the 70s or something like that.
Ooh, yeah, that is kind of low. Now I think initially I said the United States was at like 25th, but I think it's a little bit more than that. It might be like 12 to 15 or something like that. Ours is starting to see. Even my internet right now, we switched companies, and oh my gosh, it's bad for right now. They said they're going to upgrade it, but we'll see. I know the UK is doing pretty good, I think. Of course, Carlo Brown is always, saying, kind of making fun of us. He's got like 50 down, 5 up. But
yeah, well, all the little boxed-in countries, of course, have excellent internet connections because it's easier to get broad coverage, and then serve the masses that way. So and even in the US, I mean, I know that you guys don't really have one dominant network over there. There's about 3 or 4 of them, and everyone sort of has their specialties in different sort of corners of the country there. That's how I understand it. I think I'm right.
I think somebody put something a link in here. I don't know if that's exactly. It might be. I haven't seen this website before, but the rank now. I'm talking about the speed ranking.
I also want to say too, Steve. You guys always get things first over there. Like, you have better technology over there than what we do. You know, you have better like TV systems and stuff and that sort of thing over here. We just got shit.
I think it's because it's just like I said. You guys are in a unique situation. You can't. I don't see building a factory in the middle of the desert. Then you got to make roads. So everything's got to be located around the coast.
Yeah,
so maybe that's you're kind of limited in that way.
It sort of annoys me a little bit because you guys got all that stuff over there. You got good. We're sort of behind in that sort of thing. I wish we weren't.
Well, see, now I'm jealous of JJ because he's getting a lot better internet and mine's getting worse. So, I mean, even though it's kind of a trade-off, I admit, a lot of stuff we get here, technology-wise, but you got to think too. By the time you get technology from other areas of the world, then they got to add import or export taxes, then the VAT, and by then that's really what brings the price up. Too, I think.
The other thing about Australia too is that we're the 7th largest country in the world, but our population is only 22 million people. Yeah. And that's gone up significantly in the past 10, 15 years. So there's not a hell of a lot of people to sell stuff to in this country. And even then, your marketing efforts are focused on capital cities. So then it's really broken down even further. So, whereas, you could put the message out in New York City and hit 30 million people. You need to cover an entire country to get even close to that amount of people in terms of eyeballs for marketing. So I mean, that's why like Microsoft, for example, they always release stuff in the US first because bam, that's instant 300 million people that they can market stuff to and see if they can get some traction for it. Whereas Australia, at best, if you sold every single person on something, you couldn't even get enough customers as you could in New York, for example. So there's just not as many people over here. Even England is a tiny little country, and there's like 90 million people there. So there's just less incentive to want to get to this market first. I guess the only disappointing part is the fact that like Australians are actually more partial to being to trying out things. You know what I mean? Being
New
early
things?
adopters.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, and people sort of overlook that, and that's because they tend to look at buying things as opposed to like just pure adoption rates. Because even our good early adoption rates don't help the fact that you're not going to sell a hell of a lot of something in this country because there's just not enough people to do it with.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either. You may not be the primary target audience as far as, you don't have that many people compared to even a lot of smaller countries that have a lot more. And so they, companies tend to focus on those areas more than, the smaller countries or less population. So yes.
Yeah. Even when you talk about Asia Pacific region, I mean, go to China, and if you win that country, you've won 1/5 of the whole planet, So we're an afterthought. I always say, like, you look at our global area code 61. That's how I'd rank this country too.
I would just like looking at the I think somebody finally thanks to Tech Trainer, he downloaded the it's got the top 10 countries for internet speed, and I was hoping it's going to show the other countries as well.
Well, Korea's at number 1. Holy shit.
So, Korea's really. So if you want really fast internet, go to Korea.
I got my there.
South Korea, I mean.
Yeah, just be prepared to serve your country.
Yeah, you might be forced in the army and.
Yeah.
Yeah, And I'm trying to find Australia somewhere in there. And hopefully it's going to show Australia. And
Yeah, 7.82.
I'm kind of looking at it now, but I can't find it. Well, hey, maybe you guys went off the charts because it only shows.
Yeah, I'll get the link for you here, Steve. I've got it here for you, man.
Oh, what's that?
There it is, there for you.
Oh, hold on. I don't see the chat yet. Let me reduce the. Oh, okay. Let me bring this up. Yeah, I'm kind of wanting to know what Australia's is. Okay, the average speed is 7.82, and I don't know. Does it mention your world ranking as far as?
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
Probably because you're off the chart. Because it only goes up to. Oh no, wait a minute. It's going past 30 here. Well, no, 50, I guess, but.
It's going to be some horribly low number we can count on that.
You may not be the very last ones. You might be a couple up from the very last, but.
Yeah, just big enough number to still be considered an afterthought.
Well, don't feel bad because right now that's my average speed right now, 7.82, which goes actually lower between the times of 5 p.m. and 12 midnight. So I don't know when it's going to get fixed, but.
So bringing it back to the original discussion, I don't think you'll be partial towards a Chromebook anytime soon. Then.
Oh, what's that there, Aaron?
I was saying, with that sort of internet connection, I don't suppose then you'll be partial towards getting a Chromebook anytime soon. Then.
Probably not. In fact, now I've got to plan stuff around my internet because, well, sometimes I have to upload shows or whatever. So that means, well, I have to wait toward the daytime, like 12 noon instead of doing it at night. And, that kind of slows things down.
Yeah. And being a Linux guy, I mean, don't you want to sort of have like, don't you want to have all your essential apps and that sort of stuff, like, Bash and just sort of doing things yourself, you know what I mean? Like not sort of just be limited to a web browser. Wouldn't that just frustrate the hell out of you?
Yeah, you know what? It kind of would because now I haven't had a chance to play around with web-based Chrome Chromebook or whatever. I did apply for the the beta program, which they didn't send me one, but that's not a big deal. But I really need to use it to give an objective thought on it. I can give my initial thoughts. It probably would be. I think it's more targeted towards day-to-day apps like social networking, a little Twitter, web browser, and things like that, multimedia. Yeah, that I would kind of miss some of that, like dropping down to a terminal and.
Yeah, Steve, you need to get that guy on. He does Linux videos. Guy called Tim. He's from Australia as well. You should get him on and Tim. He does Linux stuff.
You said Tim?
Yeah, Tim. I'll give the link to his channel for you.
Oh, okay.
He does pretty cool videos about Linux and stuff.
And now I admit, it seems I've kind of gone away from Linux, and it wasn't necessarily by choice, just different factors. Because for me to do a lot of broadcasting,
are you getting more into Windows side, more into Apple side now, are you, Steve?
Yeah, I kind of had to in a way.
Fanboy.
Well, I'm two fanboys. I'm a Linux fanboy and now an Apple fanboy, but I don't discount Windows at all. I do like the concept of Windows 7, even though I hadn't had a chance to fully play around with it. And I've heard of him, OSGUI show.
Yeah. He's been on Techwebcast as well, but
yeah, I've heard of him. I think I even watched a few
strong opinions about Toaster and stuff, and I have to get rid of him. He can't be on anymore.
Oh, what'd you say? I missed that.
I said he was very he doesn't like some ISP providers and stuff. He's got very bad opinions about Toaster and stuff, and that sort of thing. I can't have him on anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bags out Telstra and stuff and that sort of thing. And
Oh, he doesn't like service providers, or I didn't get the full.
not really. I don't think he does.
Yeah, some people are like really animate against certain things. And I'm not saying I'm against it or anything, but actually I have watched. Now this is a couple of years ago, but I have watched a few of his things. OS UI show, I think, on YouTube or maybe even his website. I'm not sure, but I think it was his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Osgui, tech show.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Osgui.
Yeah.
So.
The Osgui Tech Show. In this video, we're going to take a quick first look review of Pinguy OS 11.0.
Yeah, so he talks about like different Windows to do with Linux and stuff and that sort of thing.
And well, like I was saying before, I kind of got away from it, but it's because Linux is not the best platform for doing webcasting like I'm doing now, simply because the third-party support for webcams and things like that. So I kind of had to use Mac for that, and then I've been so busy producing the show, for me to go into Linux and finding good Linux news and things like that. And I didn't mean to do it on purpose. It's just the way it kind of ended up being. But I just did this one. We talked about the Google Notebooks, which is based, I believe, on the operating system is based on some type of Linux variant, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I think I said WebOS, but somebody said that might have been wrong.
It's Chrome OS. WebOS is owned by Hewlett Packard.
Oh, okay, Chrome OS. Okay.
I've got a question for you, mate. Do you reckon any time soon down the track with your website, you'll integrate a iPad app or an iPhone app?
Let's just say the short answer is yes. The long answer is there's a whole bunch of other things I'd have to do first before I got to that point.
Okay. I just think it would be good to see that an iPad app on the iPad. Yeah, I think it would look good.
I guess so, but the main thing about OzTech News is that I'm not trying to restrict people to any one sort of area. It's one place where like the browser is probably the best place to get it.
Yeah.
Because then you can you're going off into a million different directions from that site,
So when you're on the iPhone, does it turn into a mobile website?
No, it doesn't. I've kept it the full version. Because the center pane, when you double tap into that, it still resizes quite well in terms of being able to read it straight off an iPhone screen or anything like that. So I don't need a mobile version of the site.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
But if you didn't have a app for usually you're saying, oh, there's an app for that, but then there wouldn't be. No, I'm just kidding.
There wouldn't be, but no.
So
I reckon it'd be cool to have an app for the OzTech News. I reckon it'd be great.
Yeah, well, so I'm being vague because at the end of the day, OzTech News is like one of about 8 things that I want to do. In terms of like, I'd like to sort of eventually have a suite of these sorts of sites, not just tech ones.
Yeah.
And so once I sort of got to that point, to sort of build like a network of categories, then you could crowdsource all of that together into an app, eventually, so that people could sort of have one destination that they could sort of launch off to from there. But that's big talk, mate. I'm a ways away from anything like that yet. I've got to just keep taking my incremental steps and eventually get to that point.
And do you reckon you'll ever do a podcast?
I get asked that a lot. I tend to really enjoy speaking on other people's podcasts at this stage. Just because again, it's not about me. It's about technology.
Yeah.
So speaking with fine gents such as yourself, it's that's probably the way that I like to do it for now.
Yeah.
Because you guys all have good opinions as well, and it's good to just throw what I have to say into the mix with you other guys, and and go with the category and the flow of what you guys are doing with your shows as well, because it always works. Everyone's interested in this stuff, no matter how you present it on your shows. So that works for me for now.
Yeah, exactly. Have you had any really bad debates with someone and arguing about a topic?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not on a podcast. But I wouldn't say that that'll never happen.
I want that to happen. I reckon it'd be funny.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll hold my own. If someone wants to argue with me about technology, they better bring their A game. Because
Hey, maybe Osgooey. No.
Yeah, let's set it up. Get on the Boston gloves and
you might. I reckon
check it out.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll have Osgooey versus Oztech News. No, just kidding.
The battle of the Aussies. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds epic. Yeah.
It sounds like mud wrestling.
Steve, you got the exclusive for the next Techwebcast show.
Yeah, that might happen. Yeah. So it happens. I reckon it'd be funny.
Yeah. Now I haven't. I tried to pull up. Now I'm on your website again. I tried to pull up some of this stuff, but the internet's dog slow because I'm broadcasting right now. Now I'm guessing you got the first one is the news section when you first get on there. Now editorials are the articles that you do yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, editorials are actually sort of more of the longer pieces. So I've got three sort of main formats that I'm going through. One is that I've got what's called quickies. So they're literally sort of it's like one news item that I've picked up on, and I provide a like one or two sentences about it or something like that. Like it's literally really small, similar to the format that like John Gruber would do, on Daring Fireball. He never really talks much about anything. He just does one or two paragraphs,
Mm-hmm.
So there's quickies. Then there's also sort of the nuggets, which are even sort of just what I've been posting on Twitter, and it'll just put it all on a page. That's an even smaller sort of like I might give one word sort of reactions to the news. But then sort of the industry news and the editorials are the sort of bigger pieces, and the editorial the editorials are more sort of purely an opinion. Whereas like industry news ones might be more sort of an opinion about something that's been happening recently, So I tend to sort of tend to do these sorts of features and that sort of stuff where I really sort of pick a category. I might have 30 to 40 different reference materials in the article, and it'll be quite detailed, So some of the more recent things I've spoken about, for example, are Apple's battle with Samsung, really sort of ripping it all apart and trying to say what's Apple's true motives. Because what's being said in the tech press isn't, that's not telling the whole story at all. So really trying to break that down. Talking about Windows 8, what Microsoft are really trying to do. One of the first feature article I ever wrote actually was about soon after Intel went on their buying spree and bought McAfee and Texas Instruments modem unit and that sort of stuff. Putting it all together and saying that it's obvious what Intel are trying to do. They're trying to build the ultimate system on a chip, and explaining my point of view. So they tend to be sort of longer articles, and so I do all of them. Probably the only section at the moment where I'm getting other people contributing stuff is in the review section, because I'm more interested in what other people have to say about this sort of stuff than just providing my own opinion. You know what I mean?
Actually, now I've kind of did it wrong. If I put my cursor over it, then it shows you what it is. And here it's showing the exclusives. It says exclusive content on OzTechNews.com that you can't find anywhere else. And what's that about, the exclusives?
The exclusives are typically just people that I've spoken to and interviewed and that sort of stuff. So the last interview I did, for example, is with an organization in Berlin, in Germany, called Dealies. And they're actually they're doing aggregation of group buying sites. So all these different places that are putting on these group buying specials, they're pulling them all in via XML feeds and sticking it all on one site. And so I actually spoke to the marketing manager of that business, and it was just sort of having a general chat to her about social media marketing, the state of group buying and that sort of stuff. And these conversations tend to be really good. I spoke to an iOS developer a few weeks ago. He built a music app called Discover. And again, it was a good chat about iOS, about being an Apple developer and that sort of stuff. So there's not a hell of a lot of exclusive material at the moment. I don't try to force the issue or anything like that. I tend to just do these things as the opportunities arise, you know.
Okay.
So it's more so about the feature articles right now where the most value is there.
Okay, now I'm on features. It says features, article write-ups from OzTechNews.com, profiling future trends and possible outcomes in the IT industry. And now, is that like your own thoughts to the, like some future trends, I guess? Are those your thoughts, or do you base them on other people's views as well, or?
Look, my thoughts and educated guesses.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, I mean, like there's one here from the end of April about guessing what will probably be in iOS 5 and for what reasons. There's been a lot of talk about the future of televisions and putting embedded operating systems on televisions and all that sort of stuff. These are sorts of feature articles that I've been doing stuff on. So there's one there about Apple and the smart TV. There was all those sorts of rumors about that. So look, the tech press is sort of saying Apple might do their own television at the end of the year. I've written a feature article that says I think that they won't at the end of the year, but I think that they will at the end of next year, and here's the reasons why, and stating my case. You know.
Oh, here's a controversial one. It's called "It's War." It's a product, service, or business so crap that OzTech News has a personal gripe with them, it or them. Then it's war. And I think you mentioned that before a little earlier.
Well, and you know what? That category is about to get a few new articles this week because I've got two new gripes. I've got one with IINet, which is the internet provider over here, and I've got another one with Google Apps. And I think sometimes it's good to do your laundry in public with these people and let people know when people do stuff that's stupid and they deserve the criticism that they're going to get, from me and hopefully from a whole bunch of other people too. People love it. It's good. And I don't do it for entertainment factor. I do it seriously because I've got a problem. So, earlier on, the people I was blasting the most in that section was WordPress, actually, because their iOS application is just terrible. Crashes all the time. And I've been doing all sorts of stuff about it, it brings a bit of a unique edge, Well, the main thing is that this is the antithesis of journalism. This is opinion-based writing. So I'm willing to throw my opinion in there if I have to,
Well, actually, it's really needed because there's some things that are just so bad. These companies or entities or whatever need to know about it, or other people need to know that may not aware it's an issue.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and most people are too afraid to criticize the bigger companies because at the end of the day they want their advertising dollars for their websites. So that it's easier to be a news source where you're being impartial, and you can sit on the fence and hide behind the journalism integrity sort of excuse. So I'm telling people up front, I'm not a journalist, never will be, and I'll never be reporting the news. So there's no excuse for me to want to just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will trust that a little bit more.
And
what about money, Arron, from the website, mate? Have you made much money off it?
The site just pays for itself. So I mean, there's advertising on there, and it's paying for all the hosting and all that. And it surprised me. People typically get pennies a day for ads on their sites and all that. That's certainly not the case with mine. Mm. The bigger the vision with this site is that this site is really about social engagement. So it's the same with like Facebook right now. I mean, they make a poor amount of money on advertising, but everyone thinks it's so valuable because when a whole bunch of people are in one area and all socializing together and talking together and using that application all the time, then they're all in one place, and that opens up opportunities. So people might want to be interested in premium advertising in the future or something like that. I may be my own advertiser. I might bring out my own services and that sort of stuff and be able to make people aware of those on my site and that sort of stuff. And because people are there, it gives me exposure. They're the sorts of opportunities, I mean, and then the third opportunity is I'll leave it at where it's at. And, as a social media marketer, I'm demonstrating my core competencies to people, and so people tend to see that I know what I'm talking about in IT, and just trust the fact that you know, I know my stuff, so they may sort of invite me to speak at conferences, or you know, when I'm you know, doing web development in the enterprise and that sort of stuff, I'm demonstrating that I know a hell of a lot about Windows technologies and non-Microsoft technologies and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They're the sort of opportunities that are afforded of me from doing the site.
So do you have much competition? Do you get much competition between Oz Tech News and Tech EU?
Competition?
Yeah.
Hell no. Absolutely not. I actually link to Tech EU's content on this site, and it's totally different websites. I don't have any competition with anybody. That's the best part.
That's good.
You know, why would you compete with anybody when you can partner with them or be friendly with them? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to eventually create a category of service where you're providing a gateway to the news sources. I mean, I actually did an interview with itjourno.com.au a few weeks ago, and I discussed this topic. I was saying to them that, you know, we're at a stage now where traditional media is declining. So people aren't consuming the news as much as they used to. They're not reading magazines or newspapers as much as they used to. And really, I think the next hub in terms of pushing people back towards consuming content is through social recommendations. So that's why you know, sites like Dig, even though they tend to be considered relics these days, people were willing to get behind it because it's a good idea to sort of recommend good news articles to people and that sort of stuff, and then push them in that direction. So that's sort of just what I'm doing with my site as well. You know, it's sort of like but it's using a conversational tone. So it's not sort of like, here's a headline, click on it if you're interested. It's creating a topical discussion with all the links to when people are, you know, providing objective content on that topic as well. So they come in through the social recommendation, read the article, and sort of say, was there a rumor about Apple, you know, launching a smart TV at the end of the year, and click the link and read all about that, you know. So I'm actually providing, I'm pushing people towards consuming traditional media, you know. So that's the idea, you know.
Well, I think, you know, if you know, instead of trying to, you know, keep separated from other, you know, websites and stuff, if you actually network together, you know, you can expand your audience and, you know, help each other out, you know, vice versa, and, you know, actually expand, you know.
The reality is with that, though, Steve, is that most people tend to sort of think that they're important. So, you know, like I take the point of view where, like, I don't think I'm important at all. And I'd be more than happy if, like, lots and lots and lots of different contributors were all writing in this site. That would be what would excite me the most. And even if, like, there were, like, 12 people all posting articles about the same topic, and they're all contradicting each other, and then writing more articles to say, no, you're an idiot and I'm right. That's what people want. That's what people want. They want to see active discussion about topics, you know. So, but, you know, the idea is most people tend to sort of launch their own sites. They get their own little brand idea or anything, and so they get protective of that. You know, it's like, but this brand embodies me. And I guess people don't tend to realize that no one gives two craps about your brand at all. They just want to be entertained. So most people will never do that. You know, and you're exactly right, Steve. You know, it's like for example, in Australia, there's 1 million different Indian restaurants. Now, imagine if every Indian restaurant all got together, created one conglomerate company, picked one name, and then branded all of their Indian shops under that sort of franchise name. It'd be more powerful than McDonald's, you know, because it'd be like this powerful brand that's constantly reinforced, and you're constantly seeing these shops everywhere where you go in Australia. But do you think they'd do it? Not at all.
No, not probably
you know,
not.
because it's hard to trust people and partner together with people and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And most people don't ever see beyond that. They tend to just create their own little world and live in it, you know. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in the broadcasting world, you know, I've got other broadcasters. We share ideas, and we're on each other's shows. And you know, if I didn't do that, you know, I wouldn't get. You know, I'd still get viewers or whatever. But you know, to me, I like collaborating with other people, whether it be in the chat room or broadcasters, tech sites. It doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, yeah, same with me. I do the same thing. I was Aussie Tech Heads. They replay my podcast each week, which is good.
Yeah, the podcasting scene is really cool for that.
Yeah.
They actually do that. It's like no one actually thinks that they're like the best in the world. So they're more than happy to sort of be a part of an ecosystem and live within it and collaborate together and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But podcasting is more the exception to the rule than the rule itself. It's usually the other way around, and particularly with blogging, particularly, you know, people are more interested in building their brands than building good content and discussion. That's the way that I see it.
Okay. Also, tell me, there's a section that says podcasts, and I don't know if that's what is that section about?
It's just the podcasts that I've appeared on. So it's really just allowing people to sort of see. When I've spoken on a podcast, I'll always put an article about it, and any particular topics or articles that I've discussed from the site, it gives people a place to come back to and follow up on that. I think you sort of find that a lot on the podcast, you know. Well, yeah, there you go, mate.
I'm just joking. No, I think it's a good thing, you know. Just, you know,
Yeah,
that'd be
great.
fun.
I agree. I reckon it's a great site, and Aaron, you're doing a great job, mate. And it's good to get the other people's podcasts and stuff out there, and that's
Of course. And so, like, it's the podcaster mentality. You're a part of an ecosystem, not the ecosystem itself, you know. So I'm more than happy to push people in other people's directions, you know.
Yeah.
Go consume good content, you know. That's the recurring theme, and get involved in the discussion, you know. So and Steve, of course, like I'll definitely want to put a link to this discussion on Chatterbox.
I'm
yeah,
just
because
kidding.
I want people to be able to have a read of that, you know. And no, I'd want to, you know. And I've been discussing articles that I wrote on the site, so I want to provide people a way to go have a look at those articles that I was talking about. You know, I'm not going to call out URLs and that sort of stuff in a podcast. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, hey, here's one that I kind of got
Yeah.
excited about, but, you know, it's not quite what I thought. It's called Quickies.
Yeah, I was talking about them before. It's just really, really small pieces of raindrops of thoughts, you know.
Yeah, I'm just having a little bit of fun with you there.
I knew exactly what you were saying. It's all good. You know, I actually originally had the idea to create a website called quicktechnews.com, and it was only going to be little tiny tidbits of, you know, Yahoo announced their earnings. Did everyone laugh? You know, that's it. That's a whole article. You know, and then and I saw the domain and it was available, and my work had paid me late, so I didn't have any money. And then like a week later, when I went to go register, it was gone. So I was like, oh, but that's where I came up with the concept of quickies. So when I sort of put this site together instead, I incorporated that idea into it. You know, just doing these smaller little articles. You know, you don't have to ramble about something. It's just make your point, get in there, and then get out. You know. Yeah,
exactly. What about where's your web hosting with, Aaron?
Actually, a guy who used to work for me has his own IT business called Superior IT. Giving them a good plug, aren't I?
Yeah.
I built a web hosting business with him, and I ended up just turning over my share of that to him, and he fully manages it now. So I actually just stuck all of my stuff on there.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, dang it. Now I was going to say something. I totally lost my train of thought here. Oh, well.
So what about you, Steve? When are we going to see your website out on the interwebs, mate?
I don't know. You know, I guess I need to work on that. It's just, you know, I'll probably got to, you know, I'll probably just go down to doing regular chat, open chat, and then, you know, maybe look at some ways to implement that. I know a lot of people are like, how come you don't got your own website? You know, I'm on JTV forever. And you're probably right, I should, but I got to look at some of the WordPresses and the, I think most people do. I know, you know, of course, Ron Knights has got his own, Tech Buzz, let me see, Ron Knights, you know, a lot of the other broadcasters, and there was silence. It's like, get your website now.
Sure, all our brands have got a website. I'm sure everyone else in the chat room's got a website or a blog. or something like that.
Yeah, actually, who in the chat room's got their own website / blog, their central site?
Or whatever.
Oh, Carla Brown doesn't, but I'm sure there's some people. I think they're gone, but there was oh geez, now I forgot which one it was. I know he has a show, his own show, but he's not here now. But of course, Brad 2007, he's got his own.
I've got my own little blog there.
Yeah, Tech Zany. Yeah, I couldn't think of who it was. I know he's got his own show.
Now that's one. That's a name, but I'm not sure what he's up to these days. He's been a bit quiet for the past probably nearly 3 weeks or so, or 4 weeks. I'm not sure what he's doing, but.
We also remember we mentioned Dylan Combs. He was kind of quiet for a while.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying just now, and I'm not sure. Maybe he's come to a halt and put things on hold for a bit.
Yeah, it's possible. I know he kind of dropped down to either just making YouTube videos or on the Locker Room. I think if you're on Locker Room, you have to make like 2 posts a week or something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe
I'm not sure what's going on with him, but it's been a bit quiet and.
Well, it could be several reasons. It could be personal stuff he's doing, reasons, or some people get burnt out.
So Steve, tell Arron about the giveaway we're going to do, mate, on our show next few weeks.
Oh yeah, we're planning on doing a few giveaways.
Cool.
Giveaways, yeah. Give stuff away. Everybody likes stuff. Prizes.
How's the Arc Mouse, Arron?
Yeah, it's all right. I've gotten used to it.
Have you been using it?
Yeah, I've been using it.
Yeah, I like it. I've got one, but I never use it. I bought a new Razor mouse the other day.
Yeah, Steve, just to give you the backdrop of that, Gizmodo in Australia, we're doing a bit of a meet and greet across the East Coast, and Microsoft are sponsoring the event. So Microsoft are just trying to spread the word about Windows Azure, and they just had a whole bunch of prizes they were giving away and all that. I won an Arc mouse. It was like they had all of this stuff up there. They had an Xbox with Kinect and all that, and I've already got that. And they had all the Arc mouses and all that. So I was thinking, gosh, I really want to come second in one of these competitions. And I did. I came second, exactly where I wanted to come. So I got the mouse, but then I got the mouse, and but then I was sort of saying that I found it a bit sort of flimsy. It's so skinny and all that. It felt awkward in the hand.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, over these past 2 weeks or so, I've just been slowly getting used to it. But yeah, it's all right. I don't mind it. It's a clever idea.
I like them. I like the design and stuff. That looks pretty cool. I'm using the Arc keyboard.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't they have they sell mouses and headphones and?
Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft. They sell that stuff. Yeah.
No. I thought it was Razer the brand.
Oh, Razer. Yeah, they do gaming stuff. They do mouse.
Was that what you guys were talking about?
Yeah.
No, this is the Microsoft Arc mouse.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What it does, it actually folds in half. So, when you sort of pack this away, to put it in your laptop bag or something, it's
a mouse that folds in half. That's pretty unique. I can see a little piece of paper.
Yeah. The bit that folds out from the bottom out to become the bottom half of the laptop, it's actually got a magnet built into it as well. So you can actually just put the little USB dongle that goes into the laptop. You can actually stick that under the bottom of the mouse, and it'll just sit in there. You won't lose it or anything like that, and then just fold down the flap, and it becomes this little thing that you can tuck away into your laptop bag. It's a clever idea.
Now
they're good. They're a good mouse. But I was sick of using batteries because batteries are a waste of money. I reckon I'm just using a cord mouse is better now.
Now, talking about the Razer brand, because my son has a few, Razer stuff that I bought him for his birthday, Christmas, and surprisingly, it's well made and
it's well made.
In the pack, I'm surprised they put a lot of thought in the packaging too. It's not just bubble wrapped and but there's now my stepdaughter bought my son it was like a mouse pad. That's made out of aluminum, which is okay, but I was like, I could have made him one for about $50 cheaper, but it's a nice one. It's like real big, and it's got a rubber backing on it. But I thought it was a bit expensive for what it was. Now, a lot of their built stuff are very nice. Like I'm surprised the headphones was very well designed. You know, it wasn't all plastic; it was metal. A lot of it was. The cord was wrapped in cloth. You know, instead of just the plastic cord.
Yeah, that's the actual mouse. I've got the Razer Def out, and that's that cord's actually made out of that material. That's not actual rubber.
The mouse pad?
No, the mouse, the cord from the mouse.
Okay. And
yeah,
they have pretty good products.
Yeah, for sure.
Apple's Magic Pad is an aluminum pad. Now, doesn't the Magic Pad have a glass top on it, or? Somebody said it's an aluminum pad, but I thought it had some kind of like a traditional like trackpad on a MacBook Pro. Nope. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't. Okay. I don't really have the trackpad, so I haven't physically seen it. But Razer mouse. Yeah. Now, they're built, I think, around gaming gear. Of course, you can use it for stuff other than, you know.
Yeah, if you use it for gaming, I use it for browsing the internet and stuff.
Yeah, you can use it for other things. Because the
mouse that I've got, you can actually get it for the Apple version. It actually works on the Apple computers as well.
Well, I think they got different pricing too. You know, they have like headphones that have different prices, and you know, their mouses, and so it's not just, you know, if one is too much money, you know, for your budget, then you can get, you know, a more basic version.
Yeah, I'm happy with the AKG headphones at the moment. They're pretty good.
Oh, that's right. I think you said you got. I think you had like two different brands. You had the K99s and the
K44s, but the K99s are good. Are great headphones. They're just comfortable, more comfortable and better sounding and stuff.
And yeah, mine are. I've been wearing mine for a while. I like it because they're, you know, they cover your whole ear. You know, because the smaller ones that sit on top of your ear, you know, they're gonna kill your ear after, you know.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I wish it would have a little bit more padding. So it does touch my ear a little bit, but not as bad as the other ones. But
yeah. Oh, and also I was inquiring about a mixer too, Steve, with the built-in amp sound, whatever you call it.
Oh, okay.
The other day, it's going to cost me one's going to cost me probably about $2.99.
So which one are you going to get? Or thinking again?
Yeah, I'm still going to thinking about it.
Oh yeah, doing more research. So did you narrow it down yet, or?
No, I haven't yet, mate. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's a sound card or the built-in sound that I've got on the motherboard or what, but it's working fine now. I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you're talking about your sound? You had problems?
Yeah. It was like wasn't very clear and stuff, wasn't clean and that sort of thing. And then you suggested get a mixer with a compressor in or something. Oh,
well, yeah, the compressor is, you know, up to you. But, you know, it helps in many situations.
Yeah, it does. It would.
And surprisingly, you know, on the Mac Mini and the Mac Pro, I'm using the built-in sound. I mean, yeah, I am going through a mixer and, you know, good quality microphones. It's still going through the onboard sound, and a lot of people, you know, don't like they'll get a separate sound card, you know, do it that way. Surprisingly, I'm getting very good audio just, you know, through the built-in, you know, to the motherboard, or, you know.
Yeah. I'm sure the Apple products do bring out good sound. You probably wouldn't need speakers, would you? You wouldn't need any speakers.
Well, believe it or not, I'm just using the built-in speakers to the Apple Cinema display, which is the one right here. And
okay. So are you using the line in and line out from the MacBook Pro?
Oh, not the MacBook Pro, just the
the
Mac Pro, yeah. The
That's right.
inputs and output, and that's it. Oh, well, yeah,
Yep.
routed to the mixer, of course.
Yeah, John actually bought a new mixer the other day. He bought one yesterday.
Oh, who's that?
John?
Oh, okay, yeah, John.
Yeah, he bought a new mixer.
And actually, yeah, let me see. Ronnie usually does it during his show, so he's saving himself to the when he does his show. I know he does it at 10 p.m. Pacific, and then that's when he starts. But yeah, he doesn't want to start too early, and he's almost. I think the built-in sound is Intel HDA. Yeah, what do they use in like the Macs? Are they? I guess they would be Intel because they're mostly Intel motherboards or processors or. What kind of sound do you have on your PC?
I'm using the Real HD audio.
What was that again?
Real HD.
Oh, Rode HD?
Real HD.
Oh, real. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, my hearing's not very good. Because I used to work in the engine rooms, they're very noisy, and I probably got slight hearing loss. So.
That's cool.
Okay, Intel high definition audio. Okay, Realtek.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I use.
Well, Realtek's pretty good, I think. I know, you see a lot of Realtek as far as the network, built-in network chips or whatever, network cards built in the motherboard, and I think they make pretty decent sound too.
I'm just constantly impressed that I got my microphone from my Guitar Hero gear, and plugged it into my computer, and that's what I'm speaking to you guys with.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Cool. Sounds
Yeah.
Well,
And actually, Skype